once I file an eviction, I've learned this from my attorney, is just like cut communication. Like all communication will have to go through my attorney if they decide to communicate. So hadn't been in that unit for a while. So happy to have that one. And the thing with like filling vacant units is like you really don't know what's gonna like come up maintenance wise because they've been vacant for so long. So a couple things came up with. Welcome back to another installment of This Week in Real Estate, where I recap my week as a self-managing landlord of 20 plus units and a fix and flip investor. This week, we're gonna go over some move-ins that we had and just the nuance with move-ins on units that have been vacant a while, some plumbing issues, an eviction, and then update on the Suffolk duplex and the Buck Road Beach House. So we had two move-ins. One of the move-ins is on a unit that's been vacant for a while. It's actually been vacant, like physically vacant for about 5 months, and then it was financially vacant before then because the lady had stopped paying rent. And once I file an eviction, I've learned this from my attorney, is just like cut communication. Like all communication will have to go through my attorney if they decide to communicate. So hadn't been in that unit for a while, so happy to have that one. And the thing with like filling vacant units is like you really don't know what's gonna like come up maintenance wise because they've been vacant for so long. So a couple things came up with that move-in just because it's been vacant, and then the very first house I ever owned, it came vacant, but I was able to move an applicant from that first property to the second property. They liked it, so was able to move them in as well. Had very little downtime on that one, so very happy about that. The plumbing issues that we had. So we had a plumbing issue, like the tenant was like, the water bill was really high, she couldn't figure out why, and I had sent a plumber out, and like the toilet was running, so we fixed the toilet. She's like, the water bill is still super high, like there's a leak. So I sent someone out, they're like, no, we're not seeing any leaks in the house. And then they wouldn't go in the crawl space. And so I was like, man, dang, like, all right. So I sent someone else out, and lo and behold, there was a leak in the house in an access panel. So we had like an access panel behind the shower for the plumbing, and there was a leak there. First plumber didn't find it, and other guy was able to find it. So able to get that repaired. And the really cool thing about like leak repairs, a lot of times if you have a high water bill, I know at least in Virginia or in the area that I invest in, if you have a high water bill because of like a leak or something like that, and you get it fixed and you submit the receipt for that repair to the water company, they will adjust your bill a lot of times. They're not gonna like zero it out, but they'll kind of adjust the bill because you weren't really using that water, you just had a leak. So I'm gonna help that tenant with that receipt so she can try to get an adjustment on her bill. The second plumbing issue was actually at the move-in, one of the move-ins that we had, and it was the sink was just draining slow. And I had someone go out, they tried to like snake the line, and basically, if you're not familiar with snaking line, it's a tool that goes into the pipes and wiggles around and clears any blockage. And they weren't able to get the line cleared or repair like the slow drainage. Had someone else go out, it was done in like 5 minutes. So it's kind of frustrating to have to like send multiple people to resolve one issue, but happy to have those issues resolved and be like a fairly easy fix, right? Snaking a line is pretty easy compared to some of the fixes that can be required on plumbing issues. And speaking of issues, had an eviction this week and won possession of the property. Um, Funny thing is, like, I try not to be a jerk, right? So the eviction process is for people that just aren't paying rent. This person hasn't paid rent in like 6 months, and he really hasn't paid rent because he disagrees with something that, and I'm like, dude, I'm not doing that, especially if you're not paying rent. He's like, well, I'm not paying rent till you do it. And I'm like, all right, see who wins this. So we had court this week, and I won possession of the property, and unfortunately now that person will have an eviction on their record, which will make it super hard for them to find another place, especially in the short term. So, and the funny thing is, like, I called him before, like a week before court, like, or maybe in 2 weeks, like, hey, like, you have this balance, do you just kind of want to settle it before we go to court? And he kind of like arrogantly started telling me like what he was gonna do, and basically like he knew that I was wrong, which I was confident that I wasn't. And I was like, all right, like, we'll just see in court. And what he did do after that is he called the city on me, and they came out, did some inspections, and they're like, yeah, you need to repair these screens, and there's like a soft spot on the floor you need to repair, like you need to repair this. And I was like, all right, just send me the notice, like those are minor things. So side note, I've already sent him screens, so he has screens for these windows, and the soft spot I will take a look at because I actually care about that long term. But he called himself being funny, trying to like get me in trouble with the city, and now he has an eviction on his record. And the crazy thing with evictions is, even though like I won the eviction case now I have to go through the process of getting the sheriff involved so they can put a notice on the door so he can get locked out, which will take like 3 to 4 weeks. But I'll have my property back by summertime, so that'll be nice, and he'll know how this judgment on his just like record, and since I won the judgment in court, I'll be able to go after him for that judgment legally as well. So he really put himself in a bad position when I offered to let him sell it before we went to court, and he didn't want to do that. So as my dad always says, a hard head makes a soft ass. Flipping over to our renovation side of things, the Suffolk duplex, man. So we knew that there was some foundation work there. There's, I think, like my contract calls it like rolling. You kind of feel the floor kind of doing like a wave motion. So I had planned to do some foundation work and sent my foundation guy over there before I closed. He was like, yeah, like there's something here, but the crawl space is so small, he couldn't get in the crawl space to really get a good look at it. So what we ended up having to do is cut all the subfloor so he can kind of start seeing and start working. And I got a text from him like, hey, we're at our estimated amount of like work, and we have probably like double that still left to do. And I was like, luckily, like I gave my foundation number, I like padded it really well, so I have money to cover a lot of the additional cost. But I was expecting to go in and do some quick foundation repairs. My contractor went by and like was on FaceTime and then sent me pictures. Like the whole front of the house is ripped up, like, and there's not all new, but we're sistering a lot of joists, a lot of new joists going in, a lot of new beams. Like it's way more work than we anticipated. But it's moving along. It should be done this week. It should have been done now. So we plan to start work on the upstairs unit this week and renovating the actual units. So we've already done the demo there. So we'll be able to put back together the unit in probably like 2 weeks because it's super cosmetic up there. So we're starting that this week, and I anticipate probably by the midway through April, that property will be renovated and we can get that one rented, because we do plan on keeping it as a rental. So we'll get it rented and start that refi process as soon as we can. The other project is the Buck Road Beach House. So the Buck Road Beach House is moving right along, we've got our inspections for plumbing and electrical passed. We got our HVAC rough-in up for inspection this upcoming week. Once that passes, then we can do drywall and kind of roll, like all the roughing and getting that stuff inspected. We do have to get the drywall inspected, but that's really just making sure there's like enough nails and stuff in there, and that shouldn't be a tough inspection to pass. So that one probably late April. I've moved that date so many times, but nothing ever really goes as planned. So late April, that one will go and like be done, hopefully. And I was already talking to a lender about like the refi on that and looking at like what we will use as a basis on it, for because I plan to use it as an Airbnb. So a lot of lenders will use the website AirDNA to just see like how much revenue a property can kick off. They estimate a property will kick off. And I put the numbers in AirDNA after talking to a lender this week, and I'm pretty happy with the numbers that it kicked off, and I think that I can get some really good refi value there. So happy with that. I'll be happy when it's done. But I was just thinking about like the renovation value and how it will appraise. And there's some really good things going at the Buckrow Beach House. Just like really quick, there is the location. So it's, when I call it the Buckrow Beach House, it's a block from the beach. Like you stand at like the gate of the front yard and you look to your left, or depending which way you're looking, you look left and you can see the waves of the beach. So it's that close to the water. But then we put a new roof on it. We're putting new windows in there. We're putting new siding in there. All new electrical, all new plumbing, all new HVAC. We dropped dang near all the walls because they had like this random paneling, so it's gonna have dang near all new drywall, new floors, new kitchen. It's pretty much gonna be a new house. So between all the renovations that we're doing and the location, I think we're gonna be able to get like $450 a square foot, which would be amazing. So just happy about that project all around. And yeah, until next week, that was This Week in Real Estate. Thank you for watching, and thank you for making the transition to YouTube. I hope this is a little bit easier of a viewing for you. And as always, if you have any questions or comments about anything, just leave a comment or reach out to me. Until next week.